biometric. Right? For example, nowadays, when you find that people make fingerprint using silicon gel, and then they are able to use for the purpose of authentication, right? So in the circumvention, we see how easy it is to spoof the particular biometric, and based on that, we can rank a particular biometric, whether it's good for the application or it is not as good for the application. Okay. So as we discussed earlier also, then why do we need biometric to secure our applications and devices? Why can't we use ID or password or token-based systems? So as I already highlighted that if you are using password or you are using ID, you may forget your carrying your ID, or when you are you may forget your password, or whatever password you have set, it may be easy to crack. So these are some challenges which we face when we are using ID or token or password-based authentication mechanisms. So to overcome this, we have the biometrics-based authentication, and we can see how biometrics helps us, or how biometrics is superior compared to password or token-based methods. So first thing, it ensures uniqueness, because every biometric trait that we use is considered to be unique. And second, the good advantage of the very good thing with the biometric is that we don't need to remember our biometric, because this is physically associated with our body or behavior. So when we are going to use it, we don't need to make any effort. We have to just present a particular part of the body from where the biometric need to be collected, and then it can be directly used. So we don't need to remember the biometric. And comparatively, as I said, it is difficult to imitate. It is very easy to guess password, or it is very easy to steal the ID, but it is relatively difficult to imitate or spoof a particular biometric. Okay? And whenever we are going to use biometrics for authentication, it requires the person's presence. So if the person is not present there, we cannot authenticate. We cannot do any authentication for that particular person. But in case of password, or in case of ID-based systems, this is very much possible. We may tell our password to someone, and then that person can pose as someone else. And similarly, the ID we can give our ID or token to someone, and then based on that also the authentication can happen even without the presence of a particular person. So if you compare the biometrics, we find that it is very, very secure and robust compared to password or ID-based systems. Now let us see, when we are going to use biometrics for securing any device or applications, what are the steps that we need to go through. So the very first thing, that whenever we are going to use a biometric trait for authentication, the very first thing that we need to do is the enrollment. So if, let's say, we have a lock, door lock, and we want to use door lock with the help of, let's say, iris, or with the help of fingerprint, then first we have to enroll ourselves with that door lock, and then only when next time we present ourselves, then the door lock will recognize us, and then will allow us to enter into the room. Okay, so first thing is the enrollment. Similarly, you see the other examples here, like you want to use ATM with the help of let's say biometrics, then you have to first enroll yourself with the ATM, and then once you are enrolled, then you can use the ATM using your biometric, right? So first is the enrollment, and second is the authentication. Once you are enrolled with the system, then next time when you come, the system or the device or the application will be able to recognize you, and based on that, it will be able to authenticate you. If you look into the details of a biometric system, we find that the whole mechanism of biometric authentication can be divided in certain sub functions. For example, so when these yellow blocks that we see here, they are those individual components or individual functions which are collectively make a complete biometric system. So the very first requirement of any biometric system is the sensor, because if the sensor is not there, we will not be able to collect the biometric. So if we are, let's say, going to use face, then face sensor is required, or like, for example, camera is required to collect the face, or if you are going to use fingerprint, then fingerprint sensor is required to collect the fingerprint. If we are going to use iris, then iris sensor is required to collect the iris, and so on. So the sensor is the very first requirement of any biometric system, with the help of which we collect the biometrics from the, from the person. And once the biometric data is collected, it could be in the form of image, as you see here, the image of face, or image of fingerprint, or image of iris, or if it is, let's say, the voice, then it may be in terms of voice signal. Is collected through that through appropriate sensor. We need to do some pre-processing, and this is mainly required to make the data more appropriate for the biometric application. It could be, let's say, noise removal from the data, or it could be, maybe highlighting a particular part of the data which is going to be used for the biometric application. So once we have pre-processed the data, and we assume that we get clean data after the pre-processing, that clean data is used. Clean data is used for feature extraction, where we uniquely extract some features, some unique things from the data, and with the help of those unique features that we extract from the data, we make template. Okay, we'll talk in more details about the template sequence type. And once
accept, yeah.
Please mute your mic if you're not using it. All the participants, can you please mute your mic? Okay, thank you. So once the features are extracted, then with the help of those features, we generate the template. And once the template of the biometrics that we are using is obtained, then if we are in the enrollment phase, then the template that we have generated is stored in the database. And if we are in the authentication phase or in the verification phase, then this template is used matches. So corresponding to the corresponding template for that particular person, which is already stored in the database, is obtained, and whatever template we have currently given, both these templates are compared if you are doing the verification, and then based on the matching score, we say whether the person is accepted or rejected. Now, when we talk about feature, we can see some examples here. Depending on what biometric trait we use, these features could be different. So, for example, in face, we might be using different features. In fingerprint, we might be using different kind of features or unique characteristics. In case of iris pattern, these features could be different, and so on. So, for example, a very simple example, let us consider here for face, and let us say to denote a face, we extract some unique features, and these unique features are basically the distances between certain points in the face of the person. Like, for example, we consider the distance between the eye corners. So you get one distance here, similarly one distance here, because from this eye we have two eye corners, and then we get the distance between them. Similarly, from this eye we have two eye corners, and we get the distance between them. And similarly, we may have nose tape, these points identifying the mouth, and we can compute actually the distance between these points, and those points can be used as features. So when we extract the features and we collectively put the features together, that makes a template. Sometimes we may have to do some kind of processing on the features, and then we get the template, and sometimes we directly, whatever features we obtain, directly we use as the template. For example, in this case, we can say if we are, let's say, directly using these corner points if these corner points are our features, and then the XY locations of these corner points is used as template, then in that case, there's a little difference between feature extraction and template. But from these features, these points that we are considering here, let's say you are calculating the distance between those points and then using those distances as features, then we can say that on the features, we have done some processing, and then we have got template. But in general, you can say that whatever features we have extracted, collectively, if we put them together, in most of the cases, that makes the template. Okay. In case of finger, so this was the example of face where these were simple features which can be used for let's say authenticating a person based on face. Similarly, in the fingerprint, we may have different kind of features. For example, in case of fingerprint, we have some unique points in the fingerprint, and those unique points, the location of those unique points are certain. I mean, information extracted at those unique points is actually considered as feature, and based on that, the template is generated. More on this we'll see in subsequent slides. So as I just said, when we are working with a biometric system, and if you let's say consider the example of fingerprint, I'm giving the example of fingerprint here because other applications or the other techniques that I'm going to talk about are for the fingerprint. So if we are using a fingerprint-based biometric system, then what could be the pre-processing steps in case of fingerprint? We may have steps like segmentation, orientation computation, binarization, thinning, and so on. These could be some pre-processing steps in case of fingerprint. What are the steps, or what are the things that we do in case of feature extraction? So this could include minutia point extraction. We basically we'll talk more about minutia points in subsequent slides. But in minutia points, we have two types of minutia points normally, and these are actually detected with the help of phrase ending and bifurcation. We'll see more on this in subsequent slides. And then once the features are extracted, then we make the template based on those features, and then once the template is generated, the opt-in template is used for matching up two fingerprints. So normally, I mean, you can say that whenever we are matching to the biometrics of two persons with the help of fingerprint, what we are matching is actually their templates. So from one fingerprint we have the template, and from the another fingerprint also we have a template, and then we match the templates to find out whether the two fingerprints are same or not. Okay. So in case of fingerprint, when we perform matching, I mean, normally what we do, we try to find out how many points in these two fingerprints are same. And these points that I have highlighted here, these are actually nothing but the minutia point that I was just referring here. And these minutia points are the points in the fingerprint where these flowing regions that we see here, these green lines, these green lines are stopping at some places, in some cases, and these lines are bifurcating into in some cases. So these points points where these ridges or these flowing lines, they stop abruptly. Those points are where they bifurcate. These points are called the minutia points. You can see the example here. For example, for this particular point, this flowing ridge that you see from here, this has stopped abruptly. So this actually point is a unique point, and this is called ridge ending. And similarly, we can find out there are some points, for example, here, this point, where this particular flowing ridge has bifurcated in two parts. So because of this bifurcation, again, this point has become a unique point, and this is called the bifurcation point. And this is again a type of minutia point. So in this example, we see two types of minutia points, one where the ridge is ending and another where the ridge is bifurcating. So when we are matching these two fingerprints, we are actually trying to find out how many of these points are same in the two fingerprints. For example, if you have a particular point in this particular location here, we try to see if the same point exists in the other fingerprint or not. So let's say this point was here at, let's say, 10,50. So we are going to try to see if at 10,50 there is a point here or not. Normally, when we capture the fingerprint, because of some because of the improper placement or because of certain other reasons, you may find that fingerprint gets displaced. So if you try to exactly try to find out if, let's say, in this case you have a minutia point at 10,50, exactly at 10,50 you may not find the minutia point here. It might have got shifted because of the improper placement of the fingerprint. So normally when we try to get a match between the two fingerprints, when we say that in this fingerprint it is at 10,50, we don't just exactly search in this image as 10,50. We search in a certain name. For example, if you see this circle, so we can say that we consider this point as a radius at a center, and within a small radius we try to search if this particular point is existing on the other fingerprint or not. And in that way we count how many miniature points are matching between these two, between the given fingerprints, and then based on that we decide the matching score. And if the matching score is sufficient enough, then we can declare that the miniature points which are being used which are being compared are same. Okay. Now let us see what are the issues with the biometrics. So we said that we compared biometrics with password-based authentication, and we said that biometric has certain advantages, but there are some challenges even in biometrics also, and that's what we are going to actually see here in this particular lecture. So what are the issues that we have biometrics? One of the issues I have highlighted here. So one of the major problem with the biometric is that it's a biometric template that we store in the database is prone to attack. So for example, if we have extracted our fingerprints, our fingerprint features from the fingerprint, and then let's say we have stored it in the database. Now, if somebody attacks on the database, then we may lose our biometric features. And if we lose our biometric features, then using features is too far created from those biometric features, and then a particular person may be authenticated even in the absence of the person. Okay. So what is the problem if we lose our biometric template which is stored in the database? So it is actually it is very, very risky, and the reason is that suppose our iCard or our password is, let's say, stolen. Somebody has, let's say, guessed our password. What is the option we have? In case of password-based authentication, if suppose somebody has guessed our password or somebody has stolen our password, then we have option of just changing the password. We can just use another password and again start using the system. But the problem with the biometric is that if we lose our biometric features, we cannot change them, right? Because biometric is permanently associated with our body or in our behavior. So if we lose our biometric features, it is not as simple as losing password. In case of password, you can set up a different password, but in case of biometrics, you don't have option of getting a new biometric. For example, from a particular fingerprint, if you have extracted features and you have stored them in the database, once you lose those features, you cannot create a new fingerprint from that particular finger, right? Because finger is permanently associated with our body. So that is why this is very, very risky. If we lose biometric data or the biometric template or the biometric features that we have stored in the database. Yeah. This is just again demonstrating the same thing. So if we have lost our password, we have option of changing our password. But if we lose our biometric or if we lose our fingerprint, let's say, then we don't have option of creating our new fingerprint because we can't change our finger and get a new finger. So that is why one of the challenge in biometric is to secure this biometric template. So in these biometric systems, what we want, basically we want revocability. We want to implement revocability in biometric systems. What basically this means? This exactly by revocability, we exactly mean what we mean when we are saying that we should have option of changing the password. So if we say that our biometric is revocable, that means we have option of changing our biometric. If we say the password is revocable, it means we can change the password. So if similarly, if we say that our biometric is revocable, then if our biometric is compromised, we will have option of changing the biometric. Yeah, but now it is not as simple, because if you are saying that we have made our biometric system revocable, that means we can change our biometrics. We cannot change our original biometrics, right? So, for example, let us consider and let us see this with the help of this example. let's say we are using fingerprint for authentication, and in this fingerprint authentication, we have extracted these features from the fingerprint. And normally, what features we extract from the fingerprint? These are the locations, as I just said in the previous slide. These are the locations of the miniature points. And there is one more, location is in terms of X and Y coordinates. And there's one more thing that we store in the database, which actually tells whether the point was a bifurcation point or was a ridge-ending point. So maybe you can say that 1 is denoting the bifurcation point and 0 is denoting the ridge-ending. Now, let us say these simple features that we extract from the fingerprint, they, when collectively they are put together, they make biometric template. And this biometric template has been stored in the database. Now, if we lose these features, if let's say somebody attacks the database and steals over these features that we have obtained from the fingerprint, this is same as actually losing the fingerprint, because as long as you have this fingerprint, you will always get the same features. So if you are changing the features, you don't have option of changing the fingerprint. You can't change your fingerprint and get the new set of features. So now, what is the way ahead to implement revocability in case of biometrics? Okay, so option here is that we say that when we want revocability in the biometric system, we should not store our original biometric features in the database. Instead, we should do some kind of transformation on the features, and then we should only store the transformed features in the database. What is the advantage we get if we store the transformed features, not the original features? The advantage is that if, let's say, you lose your features from the database, then actually you are not losing your original features. You are only losing the transformed features. So when we are implementing the revocability, we basically take our features, apply some kind of transformation on these features, and whatever transformed features we get, we store those features in the database. Now here we have option of changing the features that we are storing in the database, because if we change our transformation, let's say in place of transformation T, let's say, which is governed by a variable R, let's say if we change the value of R, we'll get a different transformation. So for a particular R equal to R1, from the original feature, we'll get a one set. But if we change our R to R2, then we get a different transformation. So that way we can say that first, whatever we are losing from the database, that is not our original feature, so we don't need to worry. And second, if we are losing, we have option of changing the features that we are going to store in the database by just changing this transformation. So by changing, let's say in this example, is changing the value of the R, which actually defines this transformation. So we are going to see more details about this in subsequent slides. Let us first try to understand what are the requirements of an ideal biometric system. What are the expectations? So the very first expectation is that the biometric system should be revocable. As we just discussed, so this basically means we should have option of replacing the compromised template. So if our biometric template, which is stored in the database, if it gets compromised due to certain reason, then we should have option of revoking it. That means we should have option of changing it with a new one. Okay. So revocability is the very, very important thing that we need in the biometrics or in the biometric systems. And all of these three factors that you see here, these three characteristics that you see here, they are actually related to the revocability. So when we are implementing revocability in the biometric system, then we expect that the new templates that we are generating after revoking the old template, there should be diversity in those templates. So if you, let's say the T1 was stored already in the database, and then let's say T1 got compromised, then you stored another template T2, then this T2 should be very different from T1. And why we are saying that this should be diverse or it should be different, because if it is same as T1, then effectively we have not actually replaced the existing template, or we have not revoked the existing template. So that is why when we are revoking the old template and generating the new template, as many times we generate the new template, they should be distinct to each other. So let's say T1 was a very old template, then you replace it by T2, then you let's say replace it by T3, or then you after that you obtain T4. All these T1, T2, T3, T4, they should be very distinct to each other. As if you just compare this to the example of password, we have password and we have infinite possibilities of setting our password. Okay. So exactly in the same way, when so in case of password, let's say when you generate a new password, this can be very, very different from the old one. In the same way, when we are generating a new biometric template, in case of a biometric system, then the new template should be very, very different from the already used templates or the existing template. And the other characteristic that we need is actually the security. This basically means that whatever biometric template that we are going to store in the database of the transformation, from that biometric template, original features should not be easily obtained. So this basically means that if somebody steals the or somebody gets access to the stored template which is there in the database, then the person should not be able to get the original biometrics from the stolen template. Okay, that we actually refer in security and performance. So when we are, as I just said, that when we are going to use revocability, we are not going to store the original biometric features in the database. We are going to store transformed features. So let us say from the original fingerprint you have template T, but now you are not storing template T. We are storing T1 or T2 or T3 or T4 in the database. So now when you are replacing T by T1, T2 or T3, this replacement should not degrade the performance of the biometric system. So it should not happen that when we are using original fingerprint features, our biometric system was very secure, but as soon as we started using the transform features, the performance went down, right? So that should not happen. So I'm just again reiterating. So when we are implementing the revocability, we want that the various templates that we are generating from the biometric data, they should be diverse. Whatever templates we are storing in the database, from there the original biometrics should not be easily obtainable, and the performance because of this because of the implementation of the revocability, the performance of the biometrics should not go down. Okay. So here we are going to discuss revocability in detail, and as I just said, that other factors are actually related to the revocability. So when we are discussing revocability, up to some extent we'll see that we are discussing the other factors too. Okay. So in revocability, just to again reiterate what we want that we should be able to revoke the compromised template, or we should able to replace the compromised template with a new one. Okay. And this is, if you just draw a parallel, is the same as when our passwords are stolen. We want we have option of setting the new password exactly in the same way. In case of biometrics, also we want that when our biometric template that is stored in the database is stolen or it is compromised, we should have option of changing it, and that's what we mean by revocability. And I already explained what is the key idea behind implementing the revocability. And when we are implementing the revocability, basically we are actually making our biometric template secure. So sometimes we also refer this as biometric template security, because implementation of revocability is nothing but making biometric template secure. So what are the key ideas behind implementation of biometric template security or implementation of revocability? As I stated earlier, that when we want this, we avoid storing our original biometric features in the database. Instead, we transformed our features, and then whatever template we get after transformation, that only is stored in the database. Okay. So from our original features, we get the transformed features or transformed template, and that transformed template is stored in the database. So this is the key idea behind implementing the revocability. Okay. If you just group the techniques which are used to implement revocability or to implement biometric template security, they can be actually classified in two categories. One of them are called cancelable biometrics, and another is called biometric cryptosystems. Here, the technique that we are going to see that actually falls in cancelable biometrics. So we are going to see two techniques here, and both the techniques they are going to fall under cancelable biometrics. Okay. So now let us discuss more details about cancelable biometrics. So in cancelable biometrics, or again, if you go back here, when we are implementing biometric template security using cancelable biometrics, we are going to store a transform template. We are not going to store the original biometric template. So what are the components that we'll see when we are implementing the cancelable biometrics? We will have original biometric template. Let us call this original biometric template as T. We will have a transformation function F, with the help of which we will transform the original biometric template, and we will see that we will have some parameters which we normally call as key, with the help of which we will control our transformation function. Right? So, you know, if the transformation function, let's say, is mathematically defined, then you will have some parameters to define that transformation function. So those parameters are actually referred as keys here. So what we will do when we are trying to implement revocability or biometric template security, in place of storing the template T, which is the original biometric template, we are transforming this biometric template T with the help of this transformation function F, and whatever we get after transformation, we are going to store that in the database. So this transformation function is defined with the help of this key K, and this key K could be a one value, or it could be it could consist multiple values. Okay, and when we are implementing revocable templates, in that case, when we are matching two fingerprints, or when we are matching two biometric templates, or when we are, let's say, authenticating a person, the matching that we perform for the authentication, that actually also happens in the transform domain, right? So if we have, let's say, used function F to secure our biometric template by transforming it to a new domain, then our test samples, when we are going to use the system for authentication, that those test samples also need to be first transformed using the same function, because so that they come to the same domain, and then only we can perform matching. Okay, so we can understand this with the help of this example. So let us say this is the person from where we are extracting the biometric features. So these biometric features are, let's say, coming in terms of this enrollment vector, and we call this enrollment vector as A. Okay? So this A, you can compare, this is nothing but what T that we referred here. Okay? So on this A, we are applying this transformation function F, which is defined with the help of this TK. So when we apply this transformation function on A, we get transformed data, and that transformed data is stored in the database. You can say that transformed template is stored in the database. Now, when again this person comes and gives the biometric data, then that biometric data, let's say, is now B. This on this biometric data B, again the same transformation function which is defined with the help of key is applied, and then whatever transform template you get from here, this transform template is matched with the template that is already stored in the database, and if those two templates match, then we declare that the person is genuine person, otherwise the person is an imposter. So in case of imposter, the imposter will also, let's say this particular person is trying to pose as let's say this person. So what this person will do, from this person again we can extract some features. Let's say those features are C. Okay, and obviously since the person is different, then the features that you are going to get from this person, those features will be different. Right? We can consider the example of fingerprint. So whatever fingerprint we got from here, we will not get the same fingerprint from here. So that is why we got, let's say, the feature set C, which is not same as A and B. Okay. And we have the, and this person will not know what is K also. This person will not know the transformation function or the parameters that define the transformation function. So this, let's say, the person supplies the value for that as J. So when you apply J on C, whatever you get, that is not going to be obviously same as what you get from here or whatever is stored in the database. So that way, when this particular template is applied to the database or to this matcher, we find that this will not match to the existing database, existing template in the database, and then the person can be rejected. Now here one important thing is that we should note that since this person is imposter, this person is actually trying to pose himself or herself as this particular person, then obviously this person is not going to give his or her biometric data. So this C that we see here, it is not actually the data of this person. We can consider that this C is the data representing this person. So this person is somehow, let's say, created a spoof or a false fingerprint of this particular person, and then this person is trying to supply that fingerprint to those fingerprint features to the system. So the person can actually the person can get the biometric features by somehow, let's say, but the person will not know what is the value of J, right? Because J is a secret thing, as we see here, it's a secret key. So if the K, this secret key J is not same as K, then whatever we are getting after transformation, this will not be exactly same as what we get when we are applying the transformation here or here. Okay, so that is in that way when we match what we get here with the template that is stored in the database, they both will not match, and that way we can reject the person. Okay. Now, so the highlight of this whole discussion is that we need to have a very good transformation function, so that when we apply this transformation function and take our biometric features to a new domain to create a secure template, the biometric template that we get should consist of all the characteristics that we discussed earlier. Okay. So the very first requirement of implementing this technique is the invertible transforms. We need to have this transformation, non-invertible transforms. So whatever the transformation we are going to use here, those transformations should be non-invertible, which basically mean when we are applying, let's say, transformation T on A and we are getting B, we should not have T inverse easily existing there, which can be applied on B and A can be obtained. Because if that happens, then there is no security on security of the biometric features that we are going to use here. Okay. So the transformation that we are going to use here, that should be non-invertible. That means from the secure biometric template, the original biometric template should not be easily obtainable. There are some examples which are used, which are there for implementing such kind of transformations. We'll see them very briefly. Block scrambling, distortion-based, image morphing-based techniques, surface foldings. There are some examples where we are implementing cancelable biometrics. Cancelable biometric or biometric template security with the help of these examples. Let us see some, a little more detail about these examples. So in block scrambling, in place of extracting the features from the original biometrics, we first do some kind of transformation on the image itself, and then whatever transformed image we get from there, only we extract the features. For example, this was the original fingerprint. We have divided this fingerprint into blocks, and these blocks are scrambled. And once we get these scrambled blocks, from this only we extract the biometric features. So now let's say our the features that we get from here, they are compromised. Then this transformation, which actually gives this scrambling, this transformation, if you change, we will get a different kind of scrambling, and then we can get a different kind of features from there. Right? Similarly, there is another example of image morphing, where before extracting the features from the face image, the face has been morphed. Right? It has been divided into blocks, and every block has been transformed a bit, as you see here. And then the features are only obtained from this transformed block. So if, let's say, the features that you get from here, they are compromised, then we can change this transformation and then again get a new feature, a new set of features. So that way, we are not losing the original features that you should have obtained from this face. Whatever you are losing has been obtained from this face, and this face is not the original face. Right? So whenever you find that the features are compromised, just change this transformation T, get a new kind of morph image, and then extract the features from there again. Okay. There's some more examples. So this kind of transformation can happen. Like here, we are doing this in the original image space. Like this transformation is happening on the original image fingerprint image, or this is happening on the original face image. But this can also happen on the feature space. So let's say from the fingerprint, you have extracted some features, let's say in terms of these numbers. And once these features are obtained, you perform some kind of transformation, and then get a new set of numbers, and you use these numbers as features. So this kind of transformation can happen in Cartesian space, or it can happen in polar space, or even here too, we can do some kind of surface folding and then change the features to get the new set of features. In all these examples, whatever transformation we are using to get the new set of features, if the new set of features are compromised, the transformation can be changed to get another set of new features. Okay. So in this talk, in the remaining time, we are going to see two important, biometric template security techniques. Two important techniques which are used for biometric template security are to implement cancelable biometrics, or to implement revocability in biometric systems, and both of them are actually for the fingerprint. So the first technique is called fingerprint shell, and another technique we will see that is actually the improved version of fingerprint shell. So if you remember, we said that whenever we are going to implement revocability, or when we are going to implement biometric template security, we are not going to use original features. We are going to use transformed features. So in all these techniques, we have to see what are the original features we are going to use, how we are going to transform those features, and what is the transformation function we are going to use to implement this. Okay. So in case of fingerprint shell, our original features here are the Minutia points, but we are not going to use the location of the Minutia point to get the biometric template. We are going to use the distances of these Minutia points from a particular point. This is called the singular point. I'm just going to tell more details of this. So in case of using the location of these Minutia points, we are going to use the distances of these Minutia points from the center point, and those distances are only going to be used to create the biometric template. In this example, we'll see that the biometric template that will finally come out, it will be in the form of a curve like this. Usually, originally how we used to store the features of any biometric trait, or let's say in this case the features of the fingerprint. These features used to be the locations of these Minutia points. So those, if you plot them on the XY space, those features will be like this point. Those features will be basically points, and if you plot them, they will look like this. But here we are saying that these features used to make the biometric template. But in in this case here, if you see the plotting of the biometric template in the XY coordinate system, we'll see that this makes a kind of curve, as you see this curve here. Okay, and if the number of Miniso points are more, you will find that this curve will be more spiral, as you see here. So we'll come to this in a few seconds. The important point that we need to notice from here is that in the original domain, our features are this set of points, but in the transformed domain, after transformation, our biometric template, our features are represented in terms of this curve. Now, the whole question is how to get this curve from given these XY locations. So, as I just said, in this particular technique, we are going to use the distance of these points, these Miniso points, from this center point. And this center point is actually referred as this singular point in the fingerprint image. I already told what are the Miniso points. These are the points where the ridge ending and ridge bifurcation happens. And if you see all these ridges, we see that as we move from this side to, let's say, this side, all these ridges have higher and higher curvature. So if you see the curvature of this edge, this ridge, it has lesser than this ridge. Similarly, if you move in like this, in this direction, you find that the curvature of these ridges keep increasing. So the innermost ridge here, which has the highest curvature, tip of that point is actually called the singular point. So in this case, you see that this is the particular point where where you have the innermost is having the highest curvature. So that particular point is called the singular point. So in this technique, we are going to detect the Miniso points, but we are not going to use their location for the location as the final template. We are going to compute the distances of these Miniso points from the singular point, and those distances are going to be used to create the biometric template. So now let us see how we are going to create this. So what are the steps involved here? So the very first step is obviously that since we are working on fingerprint and we want to use its Miniso points for the processing, then these Miniso points need to be extracted, and also, as I just said, we are going to use singular points. So singular point also need to be obtained from the fingerprint. Once Miniso point and singular point is obtained, the distance of all the Miniso points from the singular point need to be computed. As I just said that we are going to use these distances only to create the template. So these are the steps which are actually you can say the kind of pre-processing steps which are required to get the appropriate data for further computation. Once this is done, then we can actually go for actual implementation of the technique that we are talking about, which is fingerprint shell. So to construct the fingerprint shell, we have to first sort the distances that we have obtained. So from the previous step, as I said, you have obtained the distance of every Miniso point from the single point. These distances are sorted. And then we have to decide what is the transformation function we are going to use. And we'll see that the transformation function here is going to be defined with the help of a key D naught. So we have to decide what is the value of D naught. Once these two things are available, then we can go for constructing the curve or constructing that spiral curve or constructing the fingerprint shell. So now let us see how we are going to implement this last step, construction of the spiral curve. So to construct the spiral curve, as I just said, if let's say you have n Miniso points and the distance of those n Miniso points from the singular point is D1, D2, D3, Dn. So those distances have been now sorted in ascending order. And whatever the key D naught we have decided to use, this D naught is added to all these distances. So now we have D naught plus D1, D naught plus D2, D naught plus D3, and so on. Now since D1, D2, D3 are in ascending order, if you add D naught to all these values, you will find that these values D naught plus D1, D naught plus D2, D naught plus D3, they will be also in sorted order. Okay. So now here we'll see that the basic idea when we are going to form this curve actually involves drawing of contiguous right angle triangles. How these triangles are drawn, we'll see. And the distance of the Venezia points that we are going to have here, that is going to become the hypotenuse of the triangle, the right angle triangle that we are going to draw here. And whatever the points that we obtained here, those points in terms of the curve, those points are actually stored in the database, and that forms the biometric template here. Now let us see the process in detail. So we have already obtained D0, D1 plus D0, D2 plus D0, D3 plus D0. They are in ascending order. So to make this spiral curve, we choose a center point somewhere. Let us say, for simplicity, this is 0, 0, 0 in XY space, and we draw a line of length D0 in the horizontal direction, and we get this point. Okay, 0, 0 we have decided with the help of D0, we have obtained this point. You can call it as, let's say, X0, Y0. And from X0, Y0, to get a new point in the spiral curve, we have to put a perpendicular line here. So this line is perpendicular to this horizontal line. On this line, we have to cut this arc of length D1 plus D0. So when we cut this, we get this point. This point becomes our next point. We can say that this is X1, Y1. And again at X1, Y1, with respect to this line, we put a right angle triangle, we put a perpendicular line. And on this line, we cut again the arc of length D2 plus D0. And we get this new point. Similarly, again, a perpendicular line is put here, and we cut an arc of length D0, DC plus D0, and we get this particular point. So like this, we see that given the distances, given this original point, origin at 0, 0, let's say, we can obtain all these points X0, X0, Y0, X1, Y1, and so on. And if we just collectively plot those points, we see that we get a curve like this. Okay, so when we are obtaining the biometric template for this fingerprint, we see here that instead of using their XY coordinates, what we are going to use as biometric template, this spiral curve, which is defined with the help of these X0, Y0, or these X and Y values. Okay. Now, important thing we can, so let us first see another example here. This is another example where we have more number of Venezia points, and when the number of points are more, we see that the curve becomes kind of spiral curve. And if we keep increasing more and more Venezia points here, you will find that this will be a kind of very well defined spiral curve like this. Okay. So in place of storing these XY locations from that are obtained from the fingerprint directly, we are going to store these features or these points or this spiral curve as biometric template in the database. So when we are going to compare two fingerprint of two persons, we are actually not going to compare the XY locations. Now we are going to compare these two spiral curves that we are obtaining from the two fingerprints that we are matching. So what is the advantage that we see here when we are going to implement biometric template using this technique? We see here that whatever we are obtaining here, this is very much dependent on D0. If we change the D0, we'll see that this curve will entirely change. We will see some examples also. So here the advantage is that if let's say somebody has attacked on the database and has stolen this spiral curve. So what we have to do, our system is revocable. That means we are capable of changing this stored template by a new template. How we will get the new template? That new template can be very easily obtained from the original features just by using a new D0. If you just change the value of D0, we'll get a new D0, a new spiral curve, and that can be used as biometric template. So this method provides revocability because by just changing the value of D0, which is defining the transformation, we can get new and new template. So whenever we find that our biometric template is compromised, we just change the D0, we get a new template, and we can just store the new template there. And in this process, when you are losing your template, you are not losing your original features, because what you are losing here is the transformed template that is obtained from your original features. So if you lose this, you just lose these values. This is spiral curve, not your original features, and your original features are intact. So from the original features, again, by using a new D0, another spiral curve can be obtained. So that way, I mean, you can say that this technique provides revocability. Okay. Now the question comes that when you are using this kind of this technique, how to match the templates. So in case of Minitio points, I told you that we are comparing how many Minitio points are matching with respect to each other, with respect to the two given fingerprints, and the count tells the matching score for the Minitio points. But in this case, we don't have those Minitio points. So when we are matching the two biometric templates, which are represented in terms of this spiral curve, you cannot actually match that kind of, you cannot count, or we can't try to find out the count of Minitio points which are same in the two templates. Okay, so to match here, we can consider that this template is nothing but a geometric object. So in the literature, to compare two geometric objects, there is a popular measure which is called the Hausdorff distance. So this can be used for matching of these two templates. So the same thing is done here. To match the two given spiral curves, we consider them as geometric shapes, and then with the help of Hausdorff distance, they are matched. Now let us just discuss briefly how this technique is able to provide revocability and security. So up to some extent, I have already explained this point, how we are able to maintain the revocability in this case. As I said, if you just change the value of D0, you will get a new template. So if whenever you want to revoke the old template and want to get a new template, you just change the value of D0. So from the same fingerprint data, you will get a new template, and that way you can implement the revocability in the technique. Security, this technique provides security because it is very, very difficult. The transformation that we are using, from that transformation, it is very difficult to get the original features, right? So that is why this provides a highly secure technique. This example is very important. I think we can understand this technique with the help of this example very much. So we see here that this is the fingerprint image. Now when we use a particular key on this fingerprint image, we get this biometric template or this fingerprint cell curve. Okay. Now on the same fingerprint, when you use a different key, we get this curve, which is very different from this curve. What this basically says, this actually says that this technique is very, very highly revocable. Means when you change your old template by the new template, the new template comes out as very different template with respect to the old template. So you have old template here. You see, this is little compact, but this one is bit sparse. Similarly, this is, let's say, ending here. This curve is ending here. All the points, all the curve points that you see here, they are very different compared to what you have in this point. So this shows that when you, on the same fingerprint image, if you use one key, you get one type of curve. But on the same fingerprint, if you use a different key, then you use a very different, very distinct curve. So that way you can say that this technique is highly revocable, very, very revocable, because if you change the key, what you get is very different from the old templates. Okay, but at the same time, if you see here, from impression 1, you are getting, with the help of key 1, you are getting this template. Now, if from the same person, if you take a different impression, right, the person is same, fingerprint is same, but it has been, the data has been collected, let's say at a different time. So you will get a different impression. So on this impression, if you apply the same key, we see that what we get here is the same template, whatever the template we got here, almost similar template we get here. And this is actually required because you can assume that this template is, let's say, stored at the time of enrollment, and when you come next time to use the system and you supply the same key, you should be actually able to get the same kind of template. Because otherwise, if this template doesn't come out to be same, then you won't be able to match your new template with the existing template in the database, and you will not be authenticated. So as long as the correct key is supplied and the impressions are coming from the same person, in that case, the template that we are going to get, that should be same. But if we change the key, then the template should be different. So that we see here. When the key is same, these two templates are same. Similarly, you see that when the key 2 is used on these two impressions, which are coming from the same person, these templates are also same. But if you compare these two templates here or these two templates here, they are very different. The reason is that they have been obtained for different key. Okay. So I have actually thought of presenting or discussing another technique also here, but I guess we are running out of time. So I will just stop here, and I would be happy to take few questions if there are any. Dr. Upadhyay, is that fine? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So, if there are any questions, I would be happy to take them. Are there any questions? Any question from the participants?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, so I think there are no questions, so we can conclude.
Sir, let me to ask once again.
Yes.
Audience, please, if you are having any query, please ask, unmute yourself and ask the question directly. You may drop your question in chat box also. Sir, till now there are no any questions.
Okay, no issues. So I think then we can conclude.
Okay, sir. So thank you. Finally, thank you for such a nice session and too much informative, too much interesting topic related to fingerprint and all. Thanks a lot, and I thank to all participants for patience for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Upadhyay, for inviting me to this session. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
I think Dr. Upadhyay is not audible to us. Dr. Upadhyay, you are not audible to us. Are you speaking something? Dr. Upadhyay? Anyway, I think due to some technical difficulty, the most common technical difficulty is internet related difficulty. I myself not able to listen to Dr. Upadhyay. So how can I expect that any of the participant can listen? So anyway, this was very good session, very informative session, and the expert of the session has already left the session. He is no more with us online. So I thank all the participants for this session, and hope to welcome you again in the last session. As I have always announced in the morning, I have already announced in the morning that last session will be conducted of meditation and stress management, and this session will be taken by two experts from Sahaj Yoga and Meditation. He told me that he has covered all over India and other countries also. So I expect very good presentation with us from their side, and obviously they have promised me that all of us will be surely benefited with the session conducted by them. So I would like to welcome you again in the third session that will be conducted from 2:30 to 3:30. 2:30 to 3:30, the 1 hour session will be devoted to stress management and meditation. And I again want to announce that 3:30 to 4, this 30-minute session will be a quiz session and online feedback session. Your feedback will be really valuable to us. This is not mandatory from AICT side, but they have created a link to upload the online feedback video. So I would request all the participants, as many as as many of you can present your deliver your feedback. So we will welcome your feedback, our shortcoming and everything, our strength, whatever you find, you should honestly deliver during the feedback session, and we will upload the video to AICT. That will be surely of K values for the future session and future programs to us and AICT also. So thank you very much everybody for this session, and I will expect everyone to come sharply on 2:30, because we will you have already experienced that we have started all the sessions on time, except from 1 or 2 minute delay. We did not created a much delay in any of the sessions. Just this session was delayed by 8 or 10 minutes, and that was from the expert side. He requested me again each and every time I use the word technical difficulty, and no other appropriate word is there. Only technical difficulty, only most common technical difficulty for online session is that internet is poor many times with many of us. Many times many of you call me that, sir, I am unable to join, and of course that is not always from my side, that is not always from speaker side, many times from your side. Many times service provider does not provide good service. So your many candidates sometimes called me or message me, sir, I am unable to listen because my network is very low in my area. So I have obviously no solution for that, but I tried my best, and I will provide all the videos for all the session to everybody. However, if I provide just now, it will be of no benefit for you, because if some participants called me that provide video that will be beneficial for the quiz session, videos will not be now beneficial for the quiz session, because just 1 hour time, 1 hour and 30-minute time is there, and you are not able to go through the lot of videos so far conducted, each video of 1.5 hours. So I think just, and for quiz session I would like to conclude that earlier some participant called me for PPT of some experts because they may include data in quiz. So obviously some experts included data in the quiz, but I have removed the quizzes including data, because I repeatedly asked the expert to send me PPTs in either PPT form or PDF form, so that I can distribute you all. But except two of the experts, none have sent me their presentation. So I already requested you that we cannot force expert to provide PPT. It is his willingness to provide and his sincerity. It is his goodness. So it is their goodness to provide. So two have provided and I have distributed to all of you. If someone is not on the WhatsApp group, then please you can mail me. I will mail me means just mail me telling about that you are not on WhatsApp group. I will send you the video on mail. So again, and after 4 to 4:30, the last half hour will be valedictory session. So obviously valedictory session is your graciousness. You want to attend and you should. It is not forceful. So I again finally thank you everybody and welcome in advance for the next session. Thank you very much.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Sir, you have told the quiz is only for half an hour, is it? How many questions you will include and that we wanted to know?
Quiz does not include any numerical calculation. If you have carefully listened to the speakers, if you have half-heartedly, I should emphasize, if you have half-heartedly listened to the speakers, you will be successfully able to complete the quiz. Half-heartedly means 1 hour and 30 minutes session is not so easy to have complete attention of a participant.
No, see, we will have our classes and all, no. So we will take our classes and in between we will come and listen to the sessions, sir. Many of the sessions have been very informative, sir.
Quiz is no problem for you. Quiz is no problem for you.
Okay,
It will be of 30 minutes and questions are designed to be completed in 15 minutes.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Anything else?
When will you
Okay.
share the link? Yeah, when will you share the link for quiz?
You are not clearly audible, please.
Sir, I just want to know when will you share the link for the quiz?
On time. I can share this time, but it will be activated on the time. So I will share in advance, surely. I will share half an hour advance, but the form will be activated on the dot time.
Yeah, but what is that time, sir? What is that time?
I have already told many times that quiz will be conducted during 3:30 to 4. And the same time will be devoted to video feedback also.
Yeah, feedback I heard. Okay, same time. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All of the many of candidates will be capable to complete the quiz in 5 to 10 minutes. So they will be. It is your willingness to come for video feedback. It is not a forcefully imposed from my or ICT side. Feedback. All of us know that feedback is not mandatory, but it is a beauty of any program. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.